Hello and welcome to this BioProcess International Ask the Expert webcast. I'm your host, Leah Rosin, the online editor for BioProcess International. Before we get started, just a couple of notes. This webcast is being recorded and will be made available for replay in the multimedia section of our website. We've muted the audio lines, but we welcome you to type in your questions for our speaker in the question and answer box on your screen. After the presentation, we will ask your questions to our speaker, and your questions will only be visible to myself and our speaker. So thank you for joining us today, and it's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Troy Ostreng from CPC.
Thank you, Leah. Hi, I'm Troy Ostreng. I'm a senior product manager for CPC, and today I'm going to talk to you about our big solutions come in small packages. And this is how we've expanded our sterile connection technology into small format fluid volume transfer applications. But first, I'd like to give you just a little bit of information about who CPC is. So CPC is really a leader in the design and manufacture of single-use connection technology for the biopharmaceutical market. We really specialize in connection technology. CPC was founded back in 1978 and then subsequently purchased by Dover Corporation in 2005. We have over 25 years of experience in the bio market, and CPC is ISO 13485 certified, and our clean room manufacturing areas are ISO 7 classified with real-time particulate monitoring. In the lower left-hand corner of the screen, you'll see our new office and facility, which we're really, really proud of. This was built about a year ago. We moved in summer of last year. Really excited about our new facility. So with that, before we get into kind of what our solution is, I wanted to spend some time and really review what options have been available in the market, what challenges there have been in the small flow application arena. So typically, users look to make their sterile small flow path connections in really one of two ways to join the tubing. Either open connections in a laminar flow hood, or utilizing tube welding technology, which essentially cuts and then thermally welds tubing together. Now, each of these really has some inherent disadvantages or issues associated with them, such as being complicated. So potentially more than a dozen steps to connect tubing, and the processes are very complicated. They're bulky and big, so size. So whether it's a flow hood or a tube weld with a cart, valuable clean rooms floor space is taken up with either of these two options. The processes are slow, so speed being very dependent and important. So it can take a minute to several minutes, just depending on the process and the size of the tubing being utilized. The processes are costly, so there's a lot of hidden costs associated with either of these two processes. So I mentioned space already, but in addition to that, there's extra tubing and raw materials. There's additional training due to the sheer number of steps involved with the processes. There's capital equipment, there's validation, maintenance, repair, and downtime of all of that equipment. And finally, there's risk involved with each of them. So risk can come with compromised connections or welds, operator error because of the number of steps, and a lack of repeatability or reproducibility involved with either of those two mechanisms. So converting to aseptic or sterile connectors will really help you streamline your process and reduce your costs while protecting your processes from the external environment. So Knowing some of the issues associated with the traditional methods for small flow applications and tubing connections, CPC really undertook an extensive voice of customer or VOC gathering campaign a couple of years ago to really and truly understand the customer experience and the pain points that customers were seeing with their current processes. During that, we talked to well over 50 industry representatives in the biopharma market, the cell therapy, and the gene therapy arena to really gain a better understanding into what they liked, but even more importantly, what they didn't like about their current processes or methods. So you see some of the key messages that we've heard. Simplifying production, decreased contamination or risk, which would also increase the repeatability and reproducibility of the connection process. A big one was reducing the total weld or connection time. Also being able to easily connect different grades of tubing and different sizes of tubing together, which previously hadn't been able to be done, including silicone tubing. Reducing the need for extra tubing in the process, eliminating the need for additional equipment, and finally being able to make connections at any point in the process. So whether it be high up elevation-wise in the process, at the bottom of the connection, or in any constrained places, looking for a solution that would provide them the ability to connect anywhere. So the conversations we had during our VOC exposed some real customer frustration with current technologies and really allowed our product team to fully understand the value that we could provide with a new solution. Ultimately, the customers are looking for a simpler, faster, and smarter way to make sterile connections. So CPC is introducing the MicroConnect Sterile Connector. The MicroConnect connector is really the modern alternative to some of the cumbersome industrial processes that we've talked about in terms of pharmaceutical, cell therapy, and gene therapy manufacturing utilizing either tube welding or hood to connect tubing together. And really building on the inventiveness that CPC has with its already available aseptic quick connector, the MicroConnect connector introduces a really new category of aseptic microconnectors that provide simple, efficient method for connecting tubing in these small format assemblies. It's really designed to help manufacturers improve efficiencies, reduce time and cost, and mitigate risk. So the MicroConnect connector represents a dramatic innovation for small flow applications. What are some of the MicroConnect connector features and benefits? So from the start of the project, our design team was really laser focused on providing a solution that provides our customers with all of the features and benefits they were really used to seeing from CPC with our already known aseptic quick product. From our simple 3-step connection process that reduces opportunities for error, to the genderless design that minimizes customer inventory and ensures complete accurate connections, to an audible click when the connectors are joined together to verify proper connection has been completed. It's the only sterile connector specifically designed for small tubing applications. And the minimum weight, compact size, and the fact that we have one product that fits both gamma and autoclave sterilization methods means that the product fits in extremely well with the current good manufacturing processes trends. So you can really rest assured that the time and energy and thought put into the MicroConnect design will provide the solution you've been looking for. So how does it work? How does the assembly process work? So making the sterile connections with the MicroConnects connector is much faster, much easier than the traditional connection processes, and really requires minimal operator training, and there's no additional equipment. So the process is really as simple as pinch to remove the cover, click the connector halves together, and then you pull out the membrane, and now you're ready to flow your product through. In comparison, tube welding requires a dozen or more steps, the equipment, and the additional clean room space requirements. The MicroConnects connector has really been thoroughly designed to ensure that it meets all of your technical and process needs. The connector provides the process pressures and temperature ratings that exceed what our customers were asking for. The main components are polycarbonate and platinum cured silicone, very similar to the construction of our already established aseptic product. So there's no need to worry about introducing completely new materials into your validation process. And like I mentioned before, it's both gamma and autoclavable to provide both product and system sterility. So how did we verify this? We verified it through our really rigorous product testing campaign. So our MicroConnects connector has been completely tested and validated to ensure full product performance, whether it be through flow testing to determine the rate of flow of material of fluid through the product, to burst testing to ensure that the connector really exceeds the established pressure rating when connected. We completed side load testing and tensile testing to ensure that when you attach your equipment to the product and your tubing to the product, that it's able to withstand those forces. The product has been pressure and temperature tested to ensure the connector can withstand 75 psi for 48 hours and 60 psi for extended periods of time at both the upper and lower temperatures that the product is specified at. We've gone through full freeze thaw, so freezing the product down to negative 80 degrees C and then thawing it and then running fluid through it. So CPC completed biocompatibility class 6 testing to ensure that any extractions were examined for reaction to the body. Extractables. We conducted complete extractables testing on all of the flow path materials per BPOG guidelines. And this report can be shared with you through an NDA if needed. We completed accelerated aging to show that the product can perform over the shelf life of the product. And ultimately, we provided and went through ingress testing on the product to fully ensure the sterility of the connector, both in a connected state and individually when fully submerged in a challenge solution of V. diminuta bacteria. So you can really be confident in the performance of the connector. So last, I kind of want to cover the applications that the product can be used in. So here we have an example of a typical bio workflow. And what we want to illustrate with this is that the MicroConnects can really be used at any step in the process, whether it be upstream or downstream, but particularly where you're utilizing compact bioreactors, media bottles, rocker platforms, the sampling or seed trains, and on and on. The product is really easy to validate and place into a single-use library of approved designs that you may have. It prepares for worst-case scenarios like we're going through right now with a pandemic, where everyone is really competing for the same supplier to build their systems. So having a single-use library with the standard approved designs will give our customers the ability to build custom manifolds and standard bag offerings at will. We really call this a Plan B mechanism. So with that, I'm going to turn over to answer any questions that have come in.
Thanks, Troy. So the first question is, how is this different than Aseptic Quick
product? So essentially, the MicroConnex and the Aseptic Quick are very similar. They both operate the same way. With the MicroConnex, you pinch, click, and then pull the membrane to allow fluid to flow through the product. With the Aseptic Quick, they're just larger, and you flip and then click and pull, allowing fluid to flow through the product. Like I had mentioned previously, they both have the same materials of construction for any materials in the flow path. So it's a very, very straightforward validation package for you.
So the next question is, how long did this part take to go from concept to production? What went into that process?
So like I had mentioned earlier, CPC went through a very extensive voice of customer or VOC gathering process early on in the project that we utilized in the development of the product itself. The whole process for CPC took a couple of years from the time we started gathering the VOC until we launched the product back on September 1st. Like I had mentioned previously as well, we, at the end of the project, to ensure that the product really meets all of the customer's intended purposes, we go through a very extensive testing process to test the product and make sure it's going to meet all of your needs. Next question.
Okay, the next question is, can the connector be used to connect different types and sizes of tubings?
And yes, the MicroConnex connector is really unique in that it allows you to attach tubings of different sizes. So whether you're attaching 1/8-inch tubing to 16th-inch tubing or our other size, which is 3/32, you can be interchangeable with any of those since it really is a genderless connector. The other neat thing about the product is that you can connect different types of tubing together. So you could connect thermoplastic elastomer or TPE tubing to silicone tubing if needed. So it really is a connector that's multifaceted and allows you to work it into your system as needed.
Okay. And so can the extractable report be made available to end users?
Yes, absolutely. The extractables report is available. So to gain access to the extractables report, you can just go into our website at CPC Worldwide and navigate to the MicroConnex section of the website. And from there, you can click to gain access to the extractables report. Within the extractables report, it does include both the polycarbonate of our body and the platinum silicone that make up the flow path of the product, which are the exact same material of construction as what our Aseptic Quick is, making your validation much, much easier.
And is it possible to order samples?
Absolutely, we have samples available. And again, the samples, and go to our last page of our website or of our presentation today. So samples, you could go to our website at endoftheweld.com. And from there, you could either get our sample box, which has a sampling of all the different MicroConnex connectors that we have. And that will give you the ability to really take a look at the 3 different sizes and how the products go together, making the sample process very, very easy for you.
Okay, thanks. And thanks to our audience for joining us. The recorded version of this webcast will be available for on-demand viewing on our website. And as a registered attendee, you'll receive a follow-up email providing you with a direct link. We look forward to having you join us at future BioProcess International Ask the Expert webcasts. Look for those announcements in your inbox. Goodbye.